welcome to my Four Boys and an NL Girl podcast. It is October 28th. I think it's the 28th. Yes, thanks to my watch. It's October 28th. It's Friday today. I'm a day late recording my podcast. I normally record on Thursdays, but this has been a very busy week. I'll talk about why in a minute. Thanks so much for joining me. If you are a new viewer, then thanks for coming in and checking me out. I hope that you have time to sit down with a cup of tea or coffee and have a chance to listen and watch some of the beautiful scenery that I show around Newfoundland and Labrador. And for anybody who's returning, then thanks so much for coming back. I'm glad that you enjoyed it enough to come back. I really enjoy posting these podcasts and recording them and editing them. And my cats really enjoy being videotaped too, so I guess we are so happy that you're interested in joining us on a regular basis. So the reason why I'm late is that I am the editor, or the new, fresh, just out of the box editor, volunteer newsletter editor for the Rug Hooking Guild of Newfoundland and Labrador. I'd mentioned before that I'm a rug hooker. Oh, and I should say what this podcast is all about. This podcast is all about knitting, crocheting, rug hooking, cross-stitching, sewing, quilting, basically making all the things. I am a very creative person. You're going to see a bunch of different things that I'm involved in. There may be some, whatever I'm interested in a given week, I will be showing you here on the podcast. So hopefully you're interested in the things that I'm interested in and continue to come and watch. Anyway, back to my newsletter editor role. The Rug Hooking Guild of Newfoundland and Labrador has been around for around 22 years, and I just volunteered this year with the extra time that I have with my all three boys being in school now this year. I decided that I want to help volunteer with the Guild executive, and I thought that the newsletter editor position was a good fit. It was the position was going to be vacant this coming year for the the 2-year term of this year and next year, and I really enjoy doing graphic arts and graphic designing and using computers, so I thought that it was a good fit for me. So I just sent out my first newsletter yesterday, actually I guess technically today, because I think it was after midnight last night when I sent it out, and it emailed out successfully, which is wonderful. And the rug hooking community is as wonderful as the knitting and podcasting community in terms of warm welcome. I've already received 10 or 12 emails commenting on how people like the newsletter, because the format has changed quite a bit. I've changed that a bit. And how much people like the new format, and congratulations on sending out my first newsletter. So I'm really happy about that. I'm pleased that people like the change in format, that it was easy to read. And now the next part of the editor role is there are about 30 copies that are printed for folks that aren't as comfortable using a computer. And I need to get those printed at Staples this weekend and then sent off early next week. So that's, and then that will be the end of the newsletter role mainly from now until January. Well, the middle of December, because that's when the deadline for the next newsletter is. I should have enough time for a couple weeks over the Christmas holidays to work on it. I spent most of my knitting time and all of my extra time this week working on the newsletter. I suspect that because it was my first one, it took more time than it normally would, because I was developing the newsletter format and template and such. So I'm hoping that the future newsletters won't take quite as long, and that I'll be able to get more knitting and sewing and crafting done in the run of a week as I usually do. Unfortunately, the house is a tip. It's completely a mess. One of the things I'm doing as soon as I finish podcasting this afternoon is I'm house cleaning. Yay! My husband will be very happy. The cats will likely be very happy, although they're one of the two creatures in the house who have gotten their needs fairly well met this week, even though nobody else necessarily has. I did manage to get home-cooked meals on the table and bake some cookies yesterday, but other than that, it has really been newsletter focused. So I'm really glad to have that done, and I'm pleased that people are enjoying it. So this next section of the podcast is finished objects, and despite how busy I was, I do manage to have a finished object, and I'm sure you are thoroughly sick of seeing this finished object. I have been working on it for months. I apparently am the slowest knitter of socks ever, but hey, it's finally done, and I can show them to you. So here is sock, oops. Okay, they're finished, but I still have ends to sew in. Here is sock number 1. And one day, I have antique sock blockers downstairs in my with my Christmas decorations. I'm going to break those out when Christmas comes, and so I can use them to show off my socks. I love how other podcasters have they're really pretty sock blockers that they show their socks on, and they really do show off the socks much better than my process. So here is my other sock. Now you may remember when I was knitting these, I was concerned about having enough of my main yarn for the toe, and I didn't. I'm sure Christina, the Cozy Knitter, is now going to be shaking, if she's watching this podcast, is going to be shaking in her boots, because Christina, my socks don't match. And I'm sorry, but I'm not taking out the toe of this one to get it to match up with this one. I'm still looking at these socks as practice socks, and they're for me, and it's fine if they're not absolutely perfect. I was lucky enough this week to go, Christina, who is the Cozy Knitter on Etsy and on the Die Another Day podcast, listed her, she had an update in her shop on Thursday, the 25th, and I was lucky enough to score some yarn. So when that comes, I'll be happy to show it to you. And Christina, I will do my best to make sure that my stripes all match. Maybe I'll even do an afterthought heel so that they're absolutely perfect and you won't be having the heebie-jeebies because they're not perfect. Back to my socks. So here's the toe of the original. That's the original toe, and this is so you can see that the color that I use for the cuff and the toe and the heel is longer in this one. It's an inch longer. Actually, I was only off yarn by an inch, which is not too bad, I don't think. I guess my learning curve with this is when I do a toe for a contrast toe for a sock from now on, I actually like the deeper contrast color for the toe. So an inch before I start my decrease, I think I'm going to change into my contrast color and do it that way from now on. So I'm really glad actually that I messed this up, because it helped me see from a design perspective which style I like better. And perhaps everybody else in the world knows that if you're doing a contrast yarn, you need to add a little bit more in the toe, but I didn't know that, and now I do. And I promise I'll get these sewn in before I start wearing them. Okay, so that was my finished objects, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about work in progress that I have started this week. Once I got my socks off the needles, I felt really strange not having socks ready and waiting for me to do a few rows on. So I decided it was time to cast on my husband's socks, and that was a little bit more difficult because I have found a couple of patterns in books for men's socks, but unfortunately I'm using fingering weight yarn, and the pattern I thought I was going to use, which is from the book What Knits Men Want, which is an absolutely awesome book, but the socks in that book call for a DK or a worsted weight sock, and like I said, I'm using fingering weight, so I couldn't actually use the pattern. I'm not savvy enough to be able to figure out or to change the yarn size in the pattern to make it work out in socks or sweaters or anything else. I have to stick to the same weight of yarn. So I did start, and I'm doing what my friend in British Columbia, hi Ruth, had suggested, in that I'm knitting these 2 at a time, not in magic loop though. I have two sets of DPNs, and then I'm knitting so much on one cuff and then so much on the other cuff. And I used Yarn Harlot's math, I guess, from her knitting rules book to figure out how many stitches to cast on. So this is going to be a plain vanilla sock. I'm using an Estelle yarn. I picked it up actually this week, and I've forgotten the ball band, so I'll put the information down at the bottom of the screen. I know that it's a wool alpaca nylon mix. It's really nice, slightly splitty, just a little bit splittier than I'm used to, but still a really nice yarn. I love the fabric that it's knitting up, really, really nice. So I have two fairly hefty mustaches already knit this week, which is pretty impressive considering I really did not knit a whole lot this week. And of course these ones are going to go with my West Yorkshire Spinners signature 4-ply yarn. So that's see that? That's going to be the contrast to go with that beautiful yarn, which I'm not even sure if it's self-striping or if it's random. I guess I'm going to find out soon when I finish my cuff. I think I'm going to make about a 3-inch cuff, and then my plan is, well, first of all, I've cast on 70 stitches, So if there's any, for a size 10.5, 11 shoe for my husband, so if there's anybody out there who's screaming, no, don't do it, then please let me know if 70 stitches is probably not a good amount for a man's sock. Like I said, I use Yarn Harlot's calculations and measured around his ankle, which was 9.5, and then times that by the number of stitches per inch that I got on the fingering weight of my other socks, and came up with 70. I actually came to 71, but I rounded down to 70 so I could keep my stitches even. And so that's what I'm working with. I'm going to knit about 3 inches of cuff, take them off the needles onto some waste yarn, and try them on my husband to see if they're fitting. So this is still a bit of an experiment, and I really welcome any input that you might have in terms of how many stitches I should have cast on for men's socks. And if there's a vanilla pattern that you like to use for men's socks, I would really appreciate knowing where they are, or if you can let me know where it is on Ravelry, then I would certainly look that up. So please keep that in mind. So the other thing I want to talk to you about this week is not going to be a regular feature, but it's something I'm really excited about. Last weekend, myself and my family were visiting my parents in Gander Bay again. I think I mentioned I was out there I actually had a Rug Hooking Guild executive meeting in Grand Falls on the Sunday. And the boys had a day off of school for professional development for the teachers on the Friday. So we took a long weekend and went to Gander Bay, which was wonderful. And one of the nice things about when you're visiting somebody else who is a knitter is they have extra needles, so that when your son says, Mom, can you finally teach me how to knit? I actually could. And I wanted to show you the progress that my 9-year-old has made on his not first, but second knitting project. I should have brought over his first one. He knit he's calling it a bookmark, and it's a rectangle about this wide and about this high, and he knit the whole thing himself. So now he's decided that we're just using some Bernat cotton, dishcloth cotton, in a Christmas color. No idea what the color is on that because we took the band off. And look how much he has knit. Isn't that wonderful? So he knits a couple rows a day, 2 or 3 rows, and then he gets me to check every row in case there's a mistake. He doesn't know how to take his mistakes, fix his mistakes yet, but with this and with his first project, he learned I taught him how to cast on. I taught him which he did. He repeated the cast on and for the number of stitches for his bookmark. I taught him how to cast off, and with this one, he's doing an increase, a knit in the front, knit to the front, knit to the back increase. So he's also learned how to do that. So I think he's doing remarkably well, and he picked it up really, really quickly. I would think unusually quickly, and I think part of that is because my eldest son is really into knot tying. He has been tying knots, making up his own knots since he was probably 2.5, tying things up, much to my chagrin, tying things together all over the house. And since he's entered Beavers and now he's in Cubs and they're doing knot tying as part of the Scout program, which he's absolutely loving, he's learned a whole bunch more knots. He's really, really good at them. And I think because knitting is a series of sticks and twine and knots, he's just doing really, really well. I'm just looking at the window. We're getting our first snow flurries of this fall, and I'm really excited. I've had kind of a Lorelei Gilmore from the Gilmore Girls moments all morning, because every now and then there'll be a bit of a flurry, and I get so excited because I love snow, and I especially love the first snow. This I don't think is going to qualify as the first snow because it's just flurries and it's not sticking, but it's still really, really exciting. The other thing I wanted to show you, this is stash enhancement, but from a couple weeks ago when I went on my road trip with my friend. I picked up some more buttons from the same potter that made the little teacup button that's going to go in the contest package that I'll be announcing in a few minutes, the winner of that. And the buttons that I have, so the name of the company is Pottery with Purpose. I will put the contact information down on the screen. So this gorgeous white textured button. And then I have this quite large brownie blue textured button. And what I've historically done with these buttons, I actually haven't used them on knitwear yet. I sometimes hook Christmas ornaments, and I find that when I do a Christmas ornament, so say I hook a star, I do the stars fairly plain, so then what I'll do is attach one of these gorgeous buttons to the middle, and it just makes the ornament so special and stunning. So that's my plan for one of these buttons, but I suspect, and if my Fiber Share partner happens to be watching this podcast, I suspect one of these is probably going to go in my Fiber Share partner's goodie bag as well. So before I announce the contest winner, which is I'm really excited about, I wanted to give a little bit of podcast love shout out of a couple of podcasts that I really enjoy and watch on a regular basis. Not this week, because I haven't really watched anything on a regular basis this week, but normally podcasts that I would watch. One is from United Kingdom and one is from Canada. The first one is So Sweet Violet, who is from England, and it's Jules over at So Sweet Violet. She's an absolutely gorgeous crafter and a gorgeous person. She's really, you really get the sense from Jules when she's doing her podcast that she's a warm, really super kind-hearted person, and she is an amazing crafter. She does project bags that are absolutely stunning. She's a quilter, and I imagine that's one of the reasons why her seams and her lines and everything match up so perfectly. But she's got an incredible imagination and does beautiful, beautiful handcrafted work. Right now she is doing a wonderful, it's called a Mary-along cowl, knit-along, and it's for finishing up anything handmade, so anything at all handmade that you're finishing up for Christmas gifts. So I'm probably going to partake in that particular cowl personally, because I do have some Christmas gifts that I'm working on, and it would be nice to participate in one of Jules's cowls. She's an absolutely lovely person, and again, I'll put the information on the screen, but go check Jules out because she's a sweetie. The other podcast is from Canada, and it's called SOXCETERA. SOXCETERA, am I saying that right? Shannon would, SOXCETERA. Shannon is the host of SOXCETERA, and Shannon is a very bubbly, vibrant, vivacious podcaster from British Columbia, and she's the lady who at the beginning of her podcast has a really funky introduction, and Shannon is really full of energy and seems like such a happy, charismatic person. She does some amazing knitting as well, and of course I love the fact that she's Canadian and from British Columbia, because that's where my husband is from. So if you get an opportunity to check Shannon out, then please do so. And now the moment probably everybody, including myself, has been waiting for. I'm going to announce the contest winner for my 100 subscriber giveaway, and I wish I had enough prizes and money to give a prize out to all of my followers and subscribers, because this has been a really fun process, and I would love to pass that love on to everybody so that everybody had a chance for a prize. But sadly, I don't. My money tree in the backyard is not growing, and I'm going to have to stick to one prize right now. But I've had so much fun with this giveaway, I will be having another giveaway again in the new year. For now though, I want to go over the prizes again to show you what's going to be in the giveaway, and then I'll announce the winner. So keep an eye on, there's two, whoever the winner is has to make a decision of project bags. So it's either this project bag, which is the reindeer with the pink nose, or the snowman project bag. And I remember last week I'd said that these project bags that I'd made using Hugh Loco's pattern, I found them a bit small, and one of my subscriber friends had mentioned that I would probably find them, once I started using one, I'd probably find them surprised that they hold a surprising amount. And indeed they do, because in this particular project bag, all my prizes for the contest are housed right in here. But whoever wins gets a choice between the snowman bag and the reindeer bag. So let's see what's in the package. Well, there is some partridge berry tea. Partridge berries is a really common berry that grows here in Newfoundland and Labrador. So I put some partridge berry. It's a black tea, but partridge berry flavor. Oops. I have some peppermint knob candies. This is a very traditional Newfoundland candy that you can find here just about everywhere, and in any older person's house that you go to, you're almost always offered some peppermint knobs. I have a cute little sheepy measuring tape. I have that gorgeous Pottery with Purpose again teapot button. That would also look really cute on the middle of an ornament or on a sweater. And finally, probably the most important part of the package, I think, here's the Fleece Artist Cottage Socks. In what colorway is this? This is the hibiscus colorway. And it is so squishy and warm and lovely, and I hope whoever gets this really, really enjoys it. So I used a random number generator for the contest winner, and the number came up as number 118, and of course you don't know who is under number 118, and I had to look it up. But the contest winner's name is either, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, it's Asterid or Asteroid. So would Asteroid or Asterid, whoever you are, please get in contact with me so that I can send you your prize. And I'm going to have my prize rule. I've decided to have a couple of prize rules that I didn't announce before, but this is my podcast, so I get to decide what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to follow Die Another Day's contest rules a little bit, in that I need Asterid or Asteroid, the contest winner, to get in contact with me sometime within the next month so that I can send your prize out. And then if you don't get in contact with me in the next month, I'm afraid that your prize is going to go back in the pot, and then I'll draw another name. I think that's fair, so that everybody who is actually watching the podcast on a regular basis gets a chance to win. So please, my dear, whoever you are, male or female, get in contact with me so I can send out this gorgeous prize. I'm really enjoyed doing this contest, and I'm hoping, like I said, to do another one in the new year, probably with a cal of some form. And thanks so much for everybody for participating. My subscriber list is now almost at, it's at 170, I think, on YouTube, and my followers on Instagram are at almost 200, which is absolutely fantastic. As I've mentioned before, I really, really enjoy podcasting. I really love how the knitting community has embraced me and welcomed me so warmly to this podcasting venture and to the knitting community at large. And I've really enjoyed that, and I want to pass on some of that love to you by hosting contests and things like that that people can really get interested in and focused on and have a bit of fun with it. So thanks again for participating in that. And that's all for my podcast today. It's, as I say, it's usually short and sweet. I try and keep my podcast below half an hour. I find for myself it's nice to sit down with some knitting and a cup of tea, and a half-hour amount is a good amount to work with. Thanks so much for joining me again, and I hope that this week you get to work on as many crafty projects as you have time for. Take care. Bye-bye.